Hi, everybody. This is Stephanie from the Yale Alumni Association, member of the Regional Clubs team, and as you already know, the host of Yale Alumni Live, and that's what we're here today to do, to have another episode of Yale Alumni Live. And today we're actually mixing it up a little bit. We're doing something different, and we're having a conversation with a current School of Management student, Georgia Hirsty, who is going to graduate in 2022. And she's going to talk to us today a little bit about her journey to come to Yale, but also the Yale alumni who have already had a really strong impact on not only her Yale experience, but the organization that she is a co-founder of. So I'm really excited to have Georgia here with us today. Her organization is called Frailty Myths, and she's going to tell us all about that in just a minute. So I'm going to pull her in, and we are just super excited to hear a different perspective than that we typically have on these shows where we're talking to alumni and hearing their stories. So let's find Georgia and bring her on. We'll give her a second. She did tell me in advance that this is not something that she has done before, so we'll give her a second to get settled. I see her now, so let's get her on. And I'm going to introduce you to Georgia in just a second. There she is. Hi, Georgia. You're not the only person who's been like, why can I not get on this live? But you're here now. You made it.
Staring at my phone like, is something going to happen?
You're here now. So I've already set the stage and let everybody know that this is a slightly different Yale Alumni Live than we've done in the past, because we typically are telling the stories of alumni. But we thought it would be really fun to talk to you today because you've got a great story, a personal journey, but also your experience at the School of Management and how that is affecting your organization, Frailty Myths. So we're going to jump right in and we're going to just talk about you to start. So tell us a little bit about you, Georgia, kind of where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you eventually got to Yale.
Okay, well, let me see if I can do a shortened version. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Obviously, I love talking about Frailty Myths, and it's been a really amazing year and a half at Yale, and not a place, honestly, that I expected to be. I think if you'd asked me 2 years ago if I could imagine myself in a business program at Yale, I would have laughed, and I think so would everyone else that knew me. So I grew up in Fort Wayne, Indiana, with in a family of 5, and when I was 18, bought a minivan and spent 3 months kind of slowly making my way across the country to California, and ended up at Whittier College, home of the Mighty Poets, where I met Erinn Carter, who you'll bring on in a little bit, who is the co-founder of Frailty Myths. And there I got really radicalized and politicized in thinking about how race and gender and class influence our behaviors, our interactions, our groups, our organizations. And, Erinn and I did a lot of work around Hurricane Katrina and the aftermath, really also understanding the kind of environmental impact. And so that was kind of the early makings of Frailty Myths as we started exploring these ideas. And I went off and worked on green pea ships for a while after college, really thinking about kind of global political organizations and how we can advance justice. And Erinn was working on her PhD. And, I think the thing that drew me to Yale, I had a friend, another alum of Whittier who went to Yale, who kind of called me and said, Georgia, this program is amazing, and I think you would really be interested, because it's not conventional business as you think about it. It's this nexus of business and society, and the work that Frailty Myths is trying to do in advancing justice and really thinking about how we build a better world. That's also what this program SOM is trying to do. So, and in full honesty, I didn't believe him until I started talking to Maria and got to know the school and started to meet people, and it has just been like an enlightening and incredible kind of journey that I'm holding on tight, because it's been a wild 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, wild in so many ways. So kind of a crazy time to start a program that is a little foreign to you and not something that you thought you were going to do. So I know you've got some really amazing stories about your life before Yale. So will you just tell us a couple quick things that you did? You said you were at Greenpeace, right? So can you tell us a couple places that you went on that journey and maybe some of your favorite parts of that?
Sure. Gosh, what a question. One of the, I was so privileged to get to travel around the world in my 20s and meet people from all different countries. And I think one of my favorite moments, and on the ships, I saw kind of the most incredible things and some of the saddest things that to date I have ever seen. And, one of the moments that I think, one of my favorite moments is we'd been in the Arctic. We did a lot of work in the Arctic. And after a few weeks, I found myself saying to the watchkeeper, I get it, the Northern Lights, they're cool. Don't wake me up, please. My sleep is more important. And one night, kind of late at night, I found myself up for some reason and walked out to the deck and was just lying on the deck looking at the stars. And all of a sudden, the sky just opened up in what looked like a sword of rainbow fire kind of cutting through. And it was nothing like I had seen before. And I had this moment of just complete awe, both at the world that we live in and also at the kind of fascinating ability of the human experience to adapt to what we think of as normal. And it was a really kind of important lesson for me to say, don't undersell what can be offered either from people or from the world, and really stay open. So that was a particularly kind of magical moment. And similarly, I think what has been perpetually inspiring about my work with Greenpeace and in the environmental direct action movement is that humans are incredible, and when they want to make change, they can do incredible things. And I've just never stopped being amazed at the capacity of human kindness.
Georgia, we did not plan this, everybody was watching, but Georgia does know that I was just visiting the Yale Club of Alaska 2 weeks ago and also went out and saw the Northern Lights and had a moment where the sky opened up, and I just was so reflective in that moment of where am I and who are these people that I have the privilege to get to know. And so if anybody from the Yale Club of Alaska is watching, I love you. You're amazing. It was a great experience, but I agree with you. There are these moments in our journeys that we just stop and we're like, wow, we get to be on this road together and do these amazing things. So let's talk a little bit about the Yale alumni that have been a part of your network, that have kind of helped you come to this place at SOM, because you did share with me a couple really great stories about people who have helped you on your way, who happen to be volunteers for some of our shared interest groups, including our nonprofit organization. So tell us a little bit about that, Georgia, about those folks that have been on your journey with you.
Sure. And I just, I'm sure that we will not get to all of them, but it has been just like I said, I come from a big family. Family is really important to me. And I have just felt from the very beginning of this journey, the openness and the welcoming nature of all of the Yale alumni that I've interacted with and that we've interacted with has just been, really stunning. So I first met, just kind of to chart out the way that I got there, I heard about these entrepreneur courses called Founders Practicum that Jennifer McFadden taught, and I sent her a huge fangirl email saying, please, can I come? I'm a member. Am I allowed? And so I got into the class, and she directed me to Sci City, where I had just an incredible conversation with the executive director, Claire, who was, I had a really emotional reaction because she took so much time out of, I'm sure, a very busy schedule to clearly lay out all of the different opportunities that Sci City offered, that the school offered, all these amazing entrepreneurial arenas where I could kind of delve into. So from there, I applied to a couple programs, and in one of the, I think it was Startup Yale that I applied to, but I got assigned a mentor named Cornelius, who has just been also incredible, and he does a lot of work with data and metrics, and he and I met for months and months and months. We didn't even get into the Yale start. Our application didn't get accepted, but we continued to work together, and he helped us design really powerful surveys that we could use for our clients, and met on a weekly basis. And he sent an email introducing me to Ken from Yana, and then I did, and Ken and I met, and Ken has been incredible and made all kinds of introductions. And so I spoke about what Frailty Myths is doing to Yana, and then have continued to stay in touch. And Ken is also the one that connected me to EJ, who eventually led me to Stephanie. We did the Sci City Fellowship this summer, and through that process, we had mentors like Peter Boyd, who has just been instrumental in our growth, Nancy Alexander, who is also an alum, who has just really kind of helped us grow and be our best selves and thrive in ways. I think we didn't know what we didn't know. We kind of started a business as young 20-year-olds trying to solve a really big problem.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways, we were way ahead of the other ventures. And in other ways, we didn't have a P&L statement. So we had, 2,000 people that we'd served and not these business fundamentals. And, I just feel so grateful at the way that we were held in all of these different programs.
Well, you said something to me the other day that I loved, and it was that Frailty Myths has gone to Yale. So we thought, Georgia and I thought it would be a great idea to have her co-founder, Erinn Carter, join us. So I'm going to bring Erinn on, and then we're going to get to what is Frailty Myths and how folks who are watching can contact you guys and learn more. So let's bring Erinn on. Erinn, let's find you here. I'm pretty excited. We got Erinn fresh to death coming on. So we'll bring Erinn on and we'll learn Erinn's story, and then hello, friend.
Hello.
Split screen, my giant face.
I love it.
Erinn, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us. I'm excited to have both of you to tell the full story of Frailty Myths. So before we get into the big question, what is it? Tell us just a little bit about your path too, Erinn.
Amazing. Well, I got to hear Georgia talk a little bit about our friendship starting at Whittier College. I'm born and raised in Southern California. I currently still live here, born and die in LA. I went to school with Georgia at a really small liberal arts college, Whittier College, where, I come from it's a big state. There's lots of these really prominent institutions and different education, UCLA, USC, and really Georgia and I kind of found ourselves in this really small liberal arts, weirdo space. And it really gave us, quite frankly, just the space to really grow and explore ourselves. And so, like she said, I was an academic in another time in another place. And really, what has attracted Georgia and I together, other than a real passionate love of Tupac, which holds us tightly together. But also just this kind of as Georgia said, this naive desire as young folks to want to change the world. And no one's convinced us to do something different. And so we're doing that. And that's what Frailty Myths has been. It's kind of this meta journey. We're trying to build a space for folks to feel liberated and to feel happy and to feel joy. And in the process, we're getting liberated and feeling happy and getting joy. And so, it's been, I feel privileged every day to work on a really difficult thing with my best friend. I can't kind of imagine anything else. So that's me.
I love it. And I just have to say, you're coming to the East Coast next week. So we're going to have to work on that passionate love for Tupac and balance it out with the East Side.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So we'll talk about that later. I just can't let it go without being said. We got a lot to talk about.
Born in New York, so I feel like I can hold us national.
So Georgia, lay it out exactly in your elevator pitch. What is Frailty Myths?
So Frailty Myths right now is a community-rooted diversity, equity, and inclusion organization that is both a consultancy and a community organization that uses the power of practice and hands-on tools to really bring up the behaviors that are standing in the way of justice and change them. And so we work to transform workplace culture and also build a world where everyone can thrive. And we do that really by centralizing, like I said, practice and an abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset and curiosity. One of the things that, Erinn, you just said when I was thinking about college and all of the versions of ourselves in our mid-20s and early 20s, is that Frailty Myths fundamentally kind of holds this idea that we're not trying to shame each other about the world that has existed before. We're trying to build a new one. And part of that is allowing ourselves space to grow and change. So we don't have to be this kind of rigid, we have all the answers, because that's never what Frailty Myths was. It was we don't have the answers, and let's find them and explore together. And that means we're going to make mistakes. That means we're going to trip. And let's develop a world where we know how to hold each other and build something stronger in its place. And so when the decision came for Frailty Myths to go to Yale, we were like, whoa, this is way outside of a lot of things that we understand, and let's step into it and work our way through.
So you've used a couple of words that I've picked up on. I'm not sure if anybody else has heard you say these things, like tools and build, and a lot of kind of, you hear that term a lot, like we're going to put tools in our toolbox, but you, in many cases, literally mean tools. Your logo is a person with a braid and a hammer. And so, Erinn, will you tell us like a little bit about kind of those actual physical manifestations of tools that you're talking about, the resources that you give to people in your practice?
Absolutely. And just to say that our logo, we just went through a redesign actually in the midst of the pandemic, because what else do you do but do a full logo redesign and launch, and had an incredible artist, Jackie Fawn, who is this incredible Indigenous artist. Please go online. She just started a new studio, Fish Bear Studio. So an incredible artist. And she was wonderful enough to lend her art to our logo. And so that is the artist that did that. And yeah, I think, the real root of the doing part of Frailty Myths, I think, there's lots of kind of academic, we could kind of get into that and the theory and the research behind what happens when experiential learning is the method in which we can learn. I'll do that all day. That's fun. I love pedagogical conversations. And both Georgia and I were privileged enough, especially as female identified folks growing up in the 80s and 90s, to have spaces where we could physically engage our bodies. I grew up playing soccer. If you can't tell that Georgia's a theater kid, you just made a number of mistakes. And so, but we both grew up using our bodies, and when we came together as friends, we were both very physical people just by our nature. And I think that's the thing that gravitated me in terms of being friends with her, is that we know that's often a space where for female identified folks, or just for folks that don't identify as being, cisgendered men, we're not allowed to do those things. I grew up, George and I were just having a conversation about this. Like, when I grew up, everything that I wanted to do that was really cool and like neat, I couldn't do because my parents would say like, oh, that's not ladylike. Someone would tell me that's not ladylike. And in my head, it became a synonym for all of the fun things that I wanted to do that you weren't going to let me do. Like, I couldn't get dirty. I couldn't play soccer. I couldn't run around. I couldn't sweat. And so that's really why we've kind of focused on this, is because we as individuals have found our own liberation in using our bodies. And we know that when we are physically engaged and mentally engaged, and when those two things are working in concert, there's tons of research that just shows us that that's a powerful connection. We passed Title IX in the United States, not because we were really excited about women's basketball. I'm a huge fan, but that's not why we passed it, right? We passed it because we found that there were direct connections between young women signing up for sports and their leadership development as it went on professionally. Those same women were more likely to graduate from high school, more likely to graduate from college, and more likely to take on leadership roles when they got into the workforce. That's why we brought on women's sports equity in the United States, right? Because we were looking at what it meant to be a professional later on. And so I believe in both sides. I believe that there's a power holistically in just moving our bodies. And I also believe that there's research that shows that like really transformative things happen when we do that. And so that's what we do at Frailty Myths. We build at our core, we are building, community workshops where folks can do the things that have not often been accessible to us, whether that be not just for gender identity, but for class, for race, for immigration status, for all of the, first generation status. There's all of these reasons why these spaces have been accessible. In the same ways, by the way, that there's an inverse, right, where there's also emotional spaces where men have not had accessibility to them and well, and that's a space that also needs to be created. But that's why we got there, because we know that there's power in giving folks a new experience, and we know that being exceptional is never easy. It's never a smooth ride to be exceptional. And so when we're challenging folks to be exceptional, we wanted to provide a space where we could hold them as they went through that bumpy journey. And so, yeah, that's why we just really like hammers also too. I love the smell of sawdust. I'm a sucker for sawdust.
And you guys physically do building projects in your workshops, right? I mean, I was looking at the list of some of the like hands-on projects that you do. Can you just share a couple of those? Because I think that really does make you stand out in some of the things that you're delivering.
Yeah, we have a handful of projects and across a couple of different skills, and we love all of the metaphors. And I'll just say, going into them, we spend a lot of time talking about uncomfortable and crunchy issues, and believe that that's part of the work, is we have to be uncomfortable. And so to kind of move the conversation about race and gender and ability and sexuality out of these like very conceptual places and into, hey, Erinn, don't take that hammer out of my hand. It makes me feel a certain kind of way. It really changes the way we can have that conversation and makes it real and allows us to practice. And so our flagship workshop is a stool building workshop, and everyone in the class builds their own step stool, and what is from beginning to end. So we go through all of the different power tools, and then people work in pairs. And what is particularly beautiful about the stool workshop is that we really want to build a space where we can kind of reject the idea of one-upsmanship and competition and say there can be spaces where we thrive and can really celebrate individual success collectively. And both of those things, that they don't have to be, those two things don't necessarily contradict one another. So in the Stool workshop, you know, it's a group project, even though everyone's working individually to build these step stools. And they're sturdy step stools. They're made out of, you know, 2x12s and 1x10 big construction lumber. And at the end of the workshop, when people sink their final screw, they put the stool down, and we stop the whole class, no matter where someone is in their project, to say, let's all celebrate you as you step up onto this new stool that you've built with your own hands. And what is particularly profound is that, I don't know, Erinn, maybe 50% of people have a moment where they don't want to step up on the stool because somewhere deep inside of our woundedness, they believe that it won't hold them because it isn't possible that something that they built with their own hands could possibly hold their weight. And the physical manifestation of that empowerment as they step up onto the stool that they built and feel it hold their weight underneath them is just, I mean, I think it is just the most striking. And then the whole class cheers, and you feel this way that we can really use agency and power and tools. And it's not about perfection. It's just, you know, that there are layers of empowerment, and we can, you know, 8 inches at a time get closer to all of our liberations.
I love that. I feel like I got some chills. I feel like I need to build a step stool, but I think that's an incredibly powerful message. And I saw on your website when I was looking at it earlier, there's someone who had a sweatshirt on that said like RIP to my fears. And I feel like that is really important right now, that we are all kind of living in a weird place where new fears have developed and we're not cohesive as a society. And I think this message is incredibly powerful. And I think it's amazing what you're doing. So we're coming to the end of our time together. So I have one last question for each of you. And, you know, Georgia, you only have a few months left at Yale. What are you most looking forward to in the next couple of months as you complete your program?
Oh, goodness. I'm in, someone just said like, oh, we have 14 classes left. And I thought, what? You know, I'm really looking forward to kind of the deepening of relationships with my classmates, my professors, the kind of Yale community. It has, like I said, been really profound. And the second, you know, we all came out of this experience in COVID together. And, you know, I feel it's really exciting to think about, you know, Yale SLM talks about this kind of nexus of business and society all the time. And it feels for me in this moment that we are at this place where course correction is really possible. And it feels with, like I said, my classmates and the environment at the school and how they've welcomed in Frailty Myths, that there is all of this space for us to think about how we will move into the next generation of our society and build a better world. And I feel like the people that we're building relationships with now and over the rest of my time at Yale are relationships that will last, you know, for the rest of my lifetime. And I hope will continue to inform my own leadership and the leadership of Frailty Myths as we grow.
I love it. Erinn, as a Yale adjacent friend, you shared some really nice words with me the other day, so I won't ask you to try and repeat that, but will you just kind of shed some light on how the Frailty Myths Goes to Yale experience has been for you?
Yeah, like Georgia mentioned, I got to be a part of the Sci-City Summer Fellowship, and so have spent the summer on campus. I got the Yale sweater. I should have worn it. I thought it would be too much. But I've like I said, I've been an academic. I've been in academic worlds. I know how insular they can be. I know why they can be really insular, and there's reasons for that. And I think going into Sci-City, I was prepared for a little standoff, which is expected because there's a finite amount of resources, and was kind of overwhelmed by just how open and I could never imagine myself saying this Ivy League institution has been just opening their hands to me, and that's quite. I can't lie. That's been the experience. That has absolutely been the experience from like Georgia said, from Peter Boyd to Nancy Alexander to the folks at Sci-City, to folks that we just met along the journey that gave, just one lecture. And we emailed them, say, can we hang out? And they were like, absolutely. And so it's been, I haven't always had the best experiences in academia. And quite frankly, it's been a breath of fresh air to have had this experience on campus. And I am still due a Yale tour. I'm going to be on campus next week. If you see me and you're watching and you just want to give me a tour, please do, because I would like a tour. So that's all that I have left, and but it's been absolutely wonderful, all of the support that we've gotten. So, yeah.
Well, I think we can manage a tour. We might even be able to manage a meeting with Handsome Dan. That would probably really put us over the top.
We're talking about the dog.
Yeah, we're talking about the dog.
That gonna make Ted jealous.
Also, I love the nickname. That's great. I go by Handsome Erinn now. I love it.
Well, listen, you guys, it has been such a pleasure talking with both of you and getting to know you. We are really proud of the Yale community and super proud to have you as part of it, and Frailty Myths as well. So anybody watching that doesn't know Frailty Myths, go find them, learn more, and contact Georgia or Erinn for more information. And I will see the two of you hopefully on campus. I'll see what I can do about Handsome Dan. Thank you so much for being here today, guys. Bye, everybody.
Stephanie, ciao.